I'm Scott Foster, and I am the Republican Party Precinct Chair for Precinct 375. And I'm sure you're wondering how big the precincts are and where they're at, because when I got elected for this position, I did not know how big it was or what it looked like. If you live in Lakeway, or if you're familiar with Lakeway, and if someone can hear an airplane take off or land from the Lakeway airstrip, you're in my precinct. It's just that, that's about the size. It goes from the hills to the lake. It goes over to Sunfish, over to Rough Hollow. If that gives you a little bit about it. I have some maps that I'm going to show you here in just a minute. And so, as a preface, I made all the images in this presentation with ChatGPT. If you see a word that is spelled correctly, it's because I went in and doctored the document. You're going to see, I don't know why, there's evidently AI can't spell, which means I guess it's not going to be able to take over the world. But all the images in this document that are not maps were made by ChatGPT. Okay? So, let's get started. The reason that I put this presentation together is that I didn't really understand what all the elections were going to be this year, okay? And I'm the precinct chair. I've actually worked 7 elections. I'm an election judge. I'm the person who, if you go to vote and there's a problem with your ID or anything, I'm the person who figures that out at the election booth, okay? And I did not understand all the elections. And I apologize, Penny's here. She's a precinct chair in our precinct, and I apologize. It's the reason I did this presentation, and I'm giving it to you guys because I learned a lot of stuff as I went through it. So let's go to the next slide. As you can tell from the graphic, you can see, all those words are spelled incorrectly, and I don't know why they are. And I told it to put inform, engage, and mobilize, and that's what it puts on the screen.
You can't spell words correctly in imagery.
You can't. I don't know why. So what I want to have happen with what I've developed here is I'd like to ask all of you before the end of the night to text me. I'm going to put my number up on the screen. I'm offering to do this presentation or some version of it at your house. Everyone lives and pays taxes for LTISD schools in this room, correct? Okay. No? If you live in if you pay taxes to LTISD, that's what this presentation's about. It's to inform, engage, and mobilize residents about what's coming up in the election and to get involved.
Will it matter if you're in Marble Falls? Can you help us there?
I'll find somebody to help you there, but this presentation is not about that, but I can help find that person, okay? Next slide. So what we're going to talk about tonight is mainly what's inside of Lake Travis Independent School District. What you're looking at is really the boundaries of the Texas House and Senate District. As you can tell, we're entangled with a lot of other people around the state who we vote for Texas House Representative, Texas Senate, and US Senate and some other things. But you see the Travis County is the big outline, and then you see the red circle. That's Lake Travis Independent School District, and everything I'm going to talk about is really focused on the people who live in LTISD area, who we vote for all of the different things. Let's go to the next slide. What this is not about. We are not going to talk about election integrity. If you have had a complaint about election integrity, you should have done something about it before tonight. You should have helped find some candidate to run for an office. You should have already voted for candidates who think that there's a problem with the election. And what I'm asking for you to do tonight, in addition to hosting this meeting that we're fixing to go through in your home and invite conservatives to your house to do this again, is volunteer. As a member of the Travis County Republican Party last night, we found out that we have done something pretty unique in the state, and I think actually maybe in the country. I even heard we've won the right as the party to manually count and be in charge of our own election and actually certify and verify the identities on all of the mail-in ballots.
Woohoo! Yay!
It is, that's a great thing. And we're getting calls from people all over the country saying, how did you do this? How did you force your county to let you do this? I think, I'm not even sure even the people who got it said, I think we didn't realize what a big deal this was. But here's what it's going to require. It's going to require volunteers. There are so many of us that are already involved that we work the election. We're busy. We have to go. I leave the house at 4 a.m. and I get home at 9 p.m. on election day to be an election judge. I don't have time to go the next day and count mail-in ballots. We need volunteers, and so I'm going to be asking you to send me your email and text me that, and I'm going to be asking you to volunteer. Let's go to the next slide, please. So I've really kind of covered what we're going to cover. Let's go to the next slide again. Again, I want to go back one more. I want you to host a Meet Your Precinct Chair meeting in your home, okay? If I haven't said that enough, I'm going to do it again. What I will do is I'm actually going to, if you'll volunteer your home, I will give you the list of the 10 or 15 hard R's, is what we call them. We know if you vote in a primary election, you're good solid conservative, right? If you vote Republican again and again and again, I know who those people are. I can tell you who they are on your street. I can give you the list, their addresses, their phone numbers. Then the phone numbers are kind of okay. They might be good. They could be 20 years old. I've got invitations that I can hand you that you will fill out your address and you can put them on their door. You can knock on their door and say, I'd like to invite you to my house to meet our Republican Party precinct chair at my house, okay? Next slide. How did I get involved in this? So some time ago, it dawned on me that screaming at my TV and shaking my fist at it was doing nothing at all to help the situation. So I raised my hand and said, what do I do? And here I am. What I really did is I got involved in a group before I was a precinct chair called We the People. We the People Lake Travis. And we have really taken on a role locally for not just state elections, national elections, but even local school board candidates and city council candidates to help you meet them and also hold debates and hold panels and things like that. So I'll talk more about that in a minute. But next slide, that's how I got involved in this. This is the infographic that I developed just recently to help myself understand this. And Jeff is going to hand these out. I'm going to give each one of these to you. What I'm hoping is that this goes on your refrigerator door. Like a lot of things that we really love, and I heard this actually at church one time, you know, if you were, does God have your picture on his refrigerator door? That stuck with me. I probably heard that when I was 10 years old. So I think elections matter a lot to us, and I'm hoping you'll put this on your refrigerator door to remind you when we're voting and what we're voting about. My goal in developing this graphic and the rest of the presentation is based on this. What I've done is I didn't really understand where the elections were, where they laid out, and what I was voting for. I didn't have it in my head. So I did a timeline. The timeline is along the bottom, and you see the months that go along the bottom. From top down, what I've done is I've represented the more local elections, the ones that the city, right? The city, the people who provide our water and sewer and police department. Going down, the area gets larger. Lake Travis Independent School District. That, you know what that is, and I'll show you a lot more pictures of that in a minute. Continuing down, I go to Travis County. Go back to one slide. No, go back one. You'll see Travis County is the next thing right under the local area elections, and then you see Texas, and then you see the US. So that gives you an idea, really it's just bigger and bigger and bigger areas. Now, there's two sections. There's a section on the top, which is local area elections. The section at the bottom is national and state. I should have titled it county, state, and national, but that's going to be in the next version. So there's a big differences between state and national and local elections. I'm going to get into that. What I was asking people over the last several weeks before Christmas, people that I've worked elections with, okay? I've said, how many elections could there be in 2024? I was not getting, I knew the answer, and it was 4, but nobody would answer 4. The reason there are 4, if you'll start from the left to right, primary, and I can't see it. Let me get mine copy. We have the primary election that's going to happen on March the 5th. That's number 1. The next election is the local election on May 4th. Quickly after that, May 28th is the runoff. I'm going to talk about what a primary runoff is. And then, of course, the last election is November 5th. That's the one we're all familiar with. But I don't know if I want to ask who all doesn't really understand how primaries work. I'm going to just raise my hand and say, I don't think I completely understood it until I did this presentation. So let's go to the next slide. So this year, this is the local elections. Let me point out a couple of things about local elections. Local elections are nonpartisan. That means that they are not required to state their political affiliation, their party affiliation. They don't participate in the primary. You don't know, I'm just going to say, you don't know if they're good guys or bad guys. So how do you figure that out? We're going to give you some opportunities. My other hat that I wear. So let me just describe. I'm going to wear 2 hats tonight. I'm going to go back and forth a little bit. As a Travis County Republican Party chairman, until the primary is over, I have made an oath to help all declared Republican candidates in any way I can, or willing to help get them in front of you so that you can learn about them. I am not, as a precinct chairman, I am not supposed to endorse a candidate until the primary is over. I've taken an oath to uphold the rules of the Republican Party platform, which means I'm helping run the election for primaries. I'm not supposed to tell you who to vote for in the primary. That doesn't apply to local elections, but we're very involved in local elections. We've not done a good job of making sure that we don't get bad guys elected to school board and city council. So when we cover these local elections, I'm going to put my We the People hat on. As a representative of We the People, I can say, I like these 3 candidates, okay? So we're going to cover, in Lakeway this year, we're going to be voting for 3 city council members. And that's, I should have put in voting for 3 city council members this year. I need to edit that. BK, we're going to vote for 2 city council members and the mayor. And LTISD, we're voting for 2 board of trustee positions this year. We have the 2 bad guys that we're voting for this year. We have 2, if you will, liberal school board trustees that we'd like to get rid of. So when you see We the People talking about who we're promoting for school board, those are the good guys, okay? Next slide. Keep going. I really kind of covered this already. Keep going. Of course, that's May 4th. If you didn't, most people know, but you would be surprised. You guys probably are informed. I'm hoping you are. I continue to be surprised when I ask people, do you live in the city of Lakeway? Are you going to be able to vote for mayor and city council? There are people that don't know. They don't know that they live in the city of Lakeway, okay? If you don't know, I'm going to share a link to this presentation. I actually have developed a Google map that actually has these, and you can zoom right into your house to see where you're at, and you can turn off districts on and off, but it's only for Lake Travis ISD. If you live inside the red area, you're in city of Lakeway. If you'll notice, there is an island in the city of Lakeway there. You see under Majestic Hills and the Hills. Can y'all see that? I tried to make those as big as possible. Those people don't get to vote in the city of Lakeway. They're a separate city. The Hills is, but Majestic Hills is just nothing. They're just county inside the city of Lakeway. If you have a question about that, please ask me.
So is that the land developer didn't want to pay some membership fee or something?
I don't know. We have somebody here from Majestic Hills. Maybe he can answer. Any comment?
I
Okay.
think it's just the cost to put in the infrastructure.
Yeah.
For
Yeah, I think when you look at, I know enough about this to know that when Rough Hollow was built, there was a big plan to build out sewer and water for them, and they are getting just tagged. I mean, their city taxes are like $8,000 a year, whereas my school taxes are $8,000. Their city taxes are $8,000, and it is all to pay for their sewer and water build out for Rough Hollow. They're actually in a separate district because of that, and it's a challenge. It's actually a big problem over there.
Is the Hills and the Majestic, I can't say the other word, but is that unincorporated?
Majestic Hills isn't unincorporated. The Hills is actually a separate entity. It's not a city. I think they call it a village, and it has some different rules.
Okay.
So but it is its own legal entity. They have their own election. They elect their own, I don't know that it's mayor, but they have a different term for it.
Village of the Hills has.
Village of the Hills mayor. Okay. So next slide. So today, we don't officially know who the candidates are running for city council because their filing date is not until mid-February. What we do know is that Jen Szymanski and Kelly Bruntison, I think, are both up. They are going to run again, okay? And as I've already said, when you see those people on my slide, that's probably the list of the good guys. And of course, this election, if you remember, if you look at your slide, this election, you're going to have a lot of election noise this year, and you're going to forget. This is the local election. It's its standalone election. You're going to go to the polls. The only people on the ballot are going to be city council and school board. We have a problem getting people to the polls for that. They show up in November, but they don't show up for the local election. And the people who run these elections know how you vote. They know that they will get certain candidates elected because a lot of people don't show up. I'm here to encourage you to go vote all 4 times this year. So next slide. All right, keep going. This is a work in progress. So Bee Cave, keep going. Bee Cave is, of course, the mayor and 2 positions. Of course, again, election is on May the 4th, but if you live in the city of Lakeway, you won't vote for Bee Cave. Go to the next slide and you'll see who gets to vote for the city of Bee Cave. The yellow line, I'll have to change the color on that, but that's the city of Bee Cave. You know, a couple of odd things that just jump out at me are, look at Lake Point. I don't know if you can tell. I lost it already. But you see the mall, right? And then Lake Point's just over there to the northeast. Lake Point's not even in the city of Bee Cave. It's kind of odd.
Where is it?
It's in the county. It has no Bee Cave representation, but it's a little bit like Majestic Hills. It's completely bounded by the city of Bee Cave, so it's kind of odd.
This as long as I have. You want to get
Oh,
to
I may try it. I'm pointing these out to give you an idea kind of where we're, what parts of the state we're talking about. Go ahead and go to the next slide. Again, all nonpartisan local elections. They haven't filed yet. Andy Reber is running for Bee Cave City Council again. Make note of that. That's a yes. So keep going there. All right. So this is a school board. And because I put this presentation together, I put the nice big giant pile of cash behind them because you should, okay?
Well, we shouldn't.
We shouldn't have that big pile of cash. I am all for schools. We're not going to talk about positions, but you really need to get involved. There's a lot going on there. I know there's a lot of topics at the school, but the amount of money they spend directly affects you, no matter if your kids are there. I am continually surprised that people tell me, they'll say, well, I won't pay taxes for the school when my kids aren't in it. They'll say crazy stuff like that. They're going to get to pay taxes on that school until they're 65, okay? It matters to all of us, okay? Next slide. We are going to be voting on 2 Board of Trustee positions. We do not know who the new candidates are. But the position, so what's different about Lake Travis ISD election and City Council for Beekhaven Lakeway? The cities have at-large elections, meaning you just put your name in the hat, the top 3 or 2 vote getters, if there's 2 positions open, the top 2 vote getters win. Okay? For LTISD, you have to run for a position. It doesn't matter where you have to live in the district, but you choose which position you want to run for. So you're running in a position, and when you file, you don't know who else is filing to run for that position. You do know who the incumbent is, assuming that they also file to run. So you're running against you're usually trying to run against an incumbent. What we have had in the past is we've had too many conservative people run for a position, then we split our vote, the bad guys win. So there are some organizations in and around Lakeway, We the People being one of them, and various groups that are doing a yeoman's effort to find anybody that's interested in running for school board, talk to them, find out if this is the right year to run. It really helped to educate them on what's going on, so that when you see the person running for school board that We the People is advocating for, you know, those are the good guys, okay? I'm also going to be asking for your phone number, if I haven't said that before, so that we can communicate with each other. What I'd like for you to do, if you're hosting one of these in-home meetings again, is find that group of people at home in your block that you can communicate with. Now I'm going to take before I jump in, I think this is about, we might be able to go to the next slide. I think this is the Lake Travis ISD boundary. If you live inside of that, you have to pay taxes. You get to vote for the people who are going to force you to give them the money at gunpoint, if you will, right? So get to the polls and decide you want some good people out there looking for us. So really what I'd also like to see you do with this opportunity to invite your neighbors is to talk to them. I am also surprised at how many people I ask and say, let's say when it froze a couple of days ago, did you have the cell phone numbers for your neighbors to just ask for a heater? Okay? I'm surprised. I accidentally discovered this. I accidentally stumbled upon the fact that I'm not talking to my neighbors, and back during the pandemic, I ordered a whole dump truck, 22 yards worth of dirt to raise the level of my yard. I decided I would, just for the exercise, I'd do it all by hand, wheelbarrow in hand. I put 22 yards of dirt and raised my entire yard about 3 to 4 inches by hand. Because of that, I was in the yard all the time. Everybody wanted to come by and visit. I started collecting phone numbers, and then I built a text group of my neighbors. I've got 12 guys. I only did the guys, just because texting the wives that live in your neighborhood just is a little weird. I just did the guys, okay? And I've got 12 guys that live around my block. Everybody I can walk to their house, okay, barefoot. It's been a really awesome thing. It's helped us talk, okay? It is not a political group, and we try, and it's guys, so they're not chatty. But I think, you know, in our neighborhoods, our building policy requires our garage to face not the street. We don't get to see our neighbors. Our houses are big, our lots are big. We don't know our neighbors. And this was an opportunity for you to just reach out and say, let's connect, okay? Even with the ones maybe we don't politically agree with. The other thing is about making friends with your neighbors is we've got a lot of new people that have moved to this town, especially in Sweetwater, Rough Hollow. You've got a lot of people that we have no idea what their voting record is. So what we're hoping to do is try to reach out to those people and figure out, are they part of the club or not? Do they want to be on the list? Do they want to be on the text group about who to vote for, and remind them to go vote and that kind of thing. So let's go to the next slide. Again, this is just a great chat GPT of the school, me hauling my cash to the school board. Next slide. This is a graphic of both the city of Lakeway and Bee Cave inside of Lake Travis ISD boundary. Keep going. Again, the filing date for the school board is mid-February. Lauren and Phil are up for election. Those are the ones we want to get rid of. So I need you to come vote. Let's keep going. Those are all the local elections, okay? So we're done with the nonpartisan elections that'll happen on May the 4th. Next slide. Going back to the graphic, we're going to start down at the bottom and we're going to start with Travis County, okay? Keep going. So if you probably can't read it from the screen, but what you're going to see on there is for Travis County, we're voting for district attorney, district clerk, county clerk, sheriff, some other things. It is statistically impossible for us to get a Republican elected in most all of these Travis County positions. There have been a lot of smart people that have done the math on it. Last night at the Travis County Republican Party, there are a couple of good-spirited people who have filed to be, I think, Travis County DA. Their chances are not good, but they're going to give it a try. We're not going to talk a lot about any of the races that are not winnable. So we're going to skip quickly through Travis County, okay? I'm sorry, it's the way it is. Next slide. I'm just highlighting here back one. One more.
Why is
I think
it statistically impossible? Because of Austin?
because of Austin, yeah. There are just too many people that are going to vote against anybody who has an R by their name. It doesn't matter who they are. They're just going to vote for somebody else. And there are not enough of us. And you're going to see some of this and how maybe the people who draw the maps have helped us out a little bit here in just a minute. So, okay, we're going to talk about the Texas House and Senate. Next slide. I think my
Little dates flipping.
my little dates are causing a delay there. Okay, so we're going to talk about the Texas House. This is you see where Travis County is? These are the two House districts. We have two districts so let me stop for 1 second. So everything that we're talking about now, for the exception of this race, everyone in Lake Travis Independent School District votes for the same person, okay? It's only this race that chops Lake Travis ISD in half. And go on to the next slide. All right, and maybe the next one was a little bit more. Okay, so you see the black outline is Lake Travis ISD, and you see the yellow on the bottom, that's the evil Vicki Goodwin. And there's not even, I don't even think a Republican has even filed to run against her. I looked and I didn't see anybody. The district on the right, or the top right, the green, there's two Republicans. There's the incumbent and a challenger that are running there. We're going to talk about them here in just a second. But everybody in the yellow side, which is, and we can, if you're interested, I can help you zoom in on that. I've got some other slides that I can actually bring up that are at the end if you're interested. But you don't have a candidate to vote for if you live in the yellow area, if you want to vote for a Republican. I don't even know that there's going to be one on the ballot. But there are two good people running for District 19. So next slide. They are Ellen Troxclair and Kyle Biederman. Ellen is the incumbent. Kyle Biederman is the challenger. They're both Republican and they'll both be on the Republican primary ticket. You're going to get to decide which one of these guys you want to go head to head with the Democrat for the national election, okay? For the general election. The good news is, go ahead to the next slide. I just felt compelled when we reviewed this the other day. Vicki Goodwin has a 5% ranking on the votes related to faith and family. Only 5% of the time she has voted to do something that supports faith or family. Texas scorecard gives her a 0 for voting for Constitution and limiting government. She's going to win. That's the yellow area at the bottom. We're going to talk about the top section. Next slide. This is Kyle and Ellen. There are their websites right there. But with as a part of We the People, what we're trying to do right here in Lakeway so that you guys can actually meet these guys and talk to them and ask them tough questions face to face in a room full of other people. We're hosting Kyle at River in the Hills Church. I think it's on the next slide. January 22nd. And there'll be question and answer. You'll be able to ask them questions. Look at his voting record. I've talked to him. I like him. But I think you guys should do the work to meet him and have those questions. Next slide. So I've skipped, if you noticed, I've skipped the Texas Senate race. Texas Senate holds an election every other year. And if there are several districts around the state, but we do not have an election this year for us. We don't get to vote for Senate this year. It'll be in 2 years we'll get to vote for a Texas senator. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Next slide, perfect. So these are the two Senate okay, that's the Texas Senate districts, but we don't have an election this year. Next slide. Every other year I just explain that. Keep going. Now, this one's kind of fun because this is the U.S. I've stepped down one more section on your. I'm at the very bottom, right? So now I'm at the largest area. These are national U.S. elections. The people we're going to elect are going to go to the House, and I wrote this on here because honestly, I get this confused. Congressional means House of Representatives, and I guess we use the word interchangeably. This is the U.S. Congressional District 10. It goes all the way out to LaGrange, down to Eagle Lake, comes up right under and includes Bastrop, and then makes this weird little branch to go over and just go around Lake Travis. Okay? I wonder why they drew that line that way. I don't know. Probably because we vote like those people, is most likely. I don't know the answer. But the good news is that we've got I've got a challenger. Mike McCall is the current incumbent, and Jared Lovelace is the challenger for the Republican primary. You guys are going to get a chance to actually talk to Jared and decide if you want to replace Michael with him. Okay? The good news is that I think he is going to come and do our event, right? Okay. So next slide. There are their websites right there. And I can give you a copy of this link so you can have these. But again, what I think is important is you come and meet these guys. And then we can also, I'd really like you to have a meeting, something like this. I'd really love some feedback. I'm going to give you my phone number in a minute. If you'd like to do this differently, go faster, go slower, less or more or something, I'd like you to host this, to talk to your neighbors and have these discussions. A lot of these people will come to a home meeting, okay? You'd be surprised. So I have a representative here that is a member of the We the People group, Susan Harbin, who'd like to actually talk 2 minutes about Jared. We're going to host him at the We the People event. You can come and meet him on January 22nd, 6 p.m. Susan, I'm going to let her talk about Jared for just a second.
Hi, thank you. I am a deplorable, a super MAGA person, and a war room posse member. And as part of the war room posse, it's action, action, action. So I'm now a political activist, much to the chagrin of my family. But so I've been following Michael McCall for a while. He's new to our, we just got lassoed into his area recently, and I've been following his voting. And I've called him. January 6th, prisoner detainment. I called him. I told him it was, I just called him, dialed him up. The budget, called him. He's always voting on the wrong side of the budget. About 2 months ago, I guess, he voted on one of the CRs again, and I was like, this guy has got to get primaried because he keeps voting to increase our budget. So I started looking around and I found Jared, and I was like, okay, we got somebody that's running against him, and he's going to be in the primary election. So I call up Jared and I say, Jared, what's making you run? Basically, it's the spending. So if you guys don't know, our national debt is $34 trillion. We have increased our national debt $1 trillion in the last 102 days, or plus or minus a day or two, somewhere in that vicinity. So in about 3 months' time, we've added $1 trillion of debt to our coffers here. And our interest expense is now the highest line item on our financials. It's bigger than our defense budget. It's just outrageous. So your money is going to Ukrainian pensions. It's going to the border. Your money is funding all this stuff. So when they're voting to continue these CRs and whatnot, that's your taxes, your inflation, your money is being represented that way by Michael McCall. He's one of the richest congressmen in the House, so it's going to be a tough order to get him out of office. But what I wanted to do tonight was encourage you to come meet Jared. He's a military man, family man, not interested in being a career politician. He wants to come in and make a difference, though, in Congress. So I'd really like you guys to come meet him, hear what he has to say. If you like it, sponsor a sign, talk to your neighbors. Let's influence this vote so that we can get somebody that represents us and spends our dollars with our veterans and things here at home more effectively than what Mr. McCall is doing. So I think that's my ask for tonight, and I appreciate you guys.
Thanks.
Do we know if a Democrat is running against them?
It'd be, if you look at the drawing, if you go back one slide, I think maybe one more so you can see the district, and then one more so you can see everything out there. As you can imagine, those folks in Bastrop and out to Lee County, Bastrop down to Eagle Lake and Wharton and over there, they vote like us. They don't vote. That's part of the problem, right? Because they don't have to worry about getting bad guys elected to school board. It's not affecting them. We are having a problem. If we could do one thing, is be more active in helping the rest of what's outside of Travis County actually show up and vote on voting day and in primary day. That would help us because they are very complacent. Any questions? It is interesting, though, that Mike McCall has moved, I heard, through the grapevine, and he moved to Westlake, not Lakeway. So you see the weird little jag right there? Evidently, he lives in the weird little jag.
His office, though, is right in front of Lakeway.
It is, okay. So we can go see him. All right. I'm not saying I'm for or against him. I'm saying let's have a good, healthy debate and meet these guys and help make a decision. Put them on the spot. Ask them to do things. Susan's getting involved. I'd like you to see like to see you do the same. Let's keep going and move past that one. So I'm going to go back to hosting. If you look at the back of this page, my phone number is in giant letters. There's no reason you can't see it. Please take out your phone and text me and say something. Give me your email. Say I want to host this event in my house. I'll be happy to. What you're seeing on the screen is an invitation that I put together. I'd love some help, maybe redoing the invitation. I can hand it to you and I'll put your precinct. I'll actually come to your house and do this. If you volunteer to do this, I'll do this. And I'll also invite your precinct chairman. It might be Penny. And I'll do the first one in her neighborhood. I'll do it at her house and I'll do it, okay? My goal would be is to have them, the precinct chairs, then take this and do it again and again so we can multiply this. I continue to be surprised at how many people know that I'm a precinct chair and text me when they're on their way to the polls. And they ask me this, who should I vote for? I hate to take advantage of that but I come up with a cheat sheet that's, says that I'm not going to tell you who to vote for, but I can tell you who I'm voting for. I am surprised. I'm asking you guys to be that person people call and say, I'm on my way to the polls. Okay? I think we can have an effect. I don't know what the exact grassroots mechanism is to help get the word out and get people motivated and help encourage people to get to the polls. I'm just going to start here. I read Rules for Radicals. If you haven't heard of it, it's Hillary Clinton's Bible for community engagement and Obama's. It's the playbook that they've been using. It's doing stuff like this. It's getting people motivated, okay? They need a cause, and they continue to find a way to create a cause again and again and again. So please text me. You've got my number, and say, I'll host, okay? If nothing else, I would like to send you a link for this. So this will be, the link that I'll send you will be a live link. As I know who the candidates are, the presentation will be updated, and you'll be able to pull it down in the future, okay? Next slide. So this did not format correctly. Do you see the URL that says tx.v-people-audit.org? If you go to that address, that URL, you can put in your name and your birth date and your zip code, and it will tell you all the people who have voted at your same address in the primaries, not in the general election. The reason, and let me explain a little bit, the reason that we know who votes in the primaries is because the primaries are for the parties. The parties, Democrats and Republicans, they pay for the primary election. Because they pay for the primary election, the state actually gives us the money for it, because we pay for the primary election, we get the data. On primary elections, we know by address who's showed up to vote early. So I could tell you, okay, you've got 10 solid Republicans on your street. I could tell you every day if one of them voted. And on election day, you could say to the 5 that haven't shown up yet, you could go, hey, it's time to go vote, okay? It is a little creepy. I don't know what else to say about it. It's a little creepy, but it's also handy information, and it's kind of helpful. We the People Lake Travis is the other website that you'll find, that you will for sure be able to find this presentation at. If you'll text me, I'll send you a link and you'll have a private one. Next slide. This is your call to action. I'm asking you to connect with your neighbors. I'm asking you just to go make friends with your neighbors. If you don't have a text group of your neighbors, darn it, you ought to. My group, this past Tuesday or whenever it froze, I've got neighbors who texted me and they said, does anybody have an extra space heater? I got a pipe in my wall that's frozen. I mean, we had guys all over the street loaning each other gear. It's a good thing to do. I'm encouraging you to do it. I'll help you. I also want volunteers. Like I said earlier about complaining about election integrity, we need folks to do hand counting. We do need people to do block walking. When I say block walking, this is not walking up and knocking on people's doors if you don't want to. You can just leave a card on their door. It does matter. It does help, okay? All the candidates will be interested in doing it. You'll talk to your precinct chair who will give you information and help kind of coordinate what blocks that you can walk for them. And if you've never worked as a election judge, a clerk, or a poll watcher, think about it. I got started doing it. It's not that hard. It's a little intimidating, 7 o'clock, 20 people standing there and the machines don't work and you're like, stupid technology, But you just kind of power through it. It finally works. It's a long day, but I would encourage you to give it a try. It could be your thing to just be a part of seeing how the election is run. I am less concerned about elections in Texas, or at least in Travis County, after I've been really intimately involved in watching it over the several years. Not that there's not opportunities to improve it, better ways to audit it, which I think the Travis County Republican Party has done a great job of. They were holding the county's feet to the fire. They were trying to they wanted to have the entire primary paper ballots. We were going to need 600 volunteers. We had to have names and numbers of 600 volunteers. We didn't get it done. But what we have been able to do is at least have real Republicans. We don't even have to have a Democrat helping us validate the names and identities on the mail-in ballots for the primary election. So volunteer to do that. And next slide, I think that's probably it. Thank you. Anybody have any questions?
Yeah, I've got a question.
Yeah.
So is there training to do the counting?
There will be, yes.
Is it as intense as to do the other?
I think they are making it up as we speak. Okay, I got volunteered. Evidently, there's a requirement to video the counting. So somebody came up to me at the precinct meeting last night and said, "Can you help us figure out how to get 12 phones taped to the ceiling so that they record everything that's happening in the room and record everything that's on all those phones?" And I said, "Well, we can figure something out, sure." So there's a lot of work to do. We do need volunteers. All you need to do is raise your hand and say, "I'm in," and we'll help find something for you. Even if it might be right this minute, helping figure out what the training looks like.
We can use the popcorn containers like they used in Iowa.
Mm-hmm. I have no idea. This is what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing mail-in ballots. So it's not the actual ballots, the ballots.
The mail-in.
It'll only be mail-in. So mail-in, I should know the answer to this, but I think mail-in just has a signature and a driver's license number on it. And then you're just supposed to be validating, is this person who they say they are? I don't know what the process is. So I think that would be something that I'd love to have a volunteer go connect with them, because I know they were asking for volunteers last night. What do you need? Ask them what they need. Okay?
Are these the mail-in ballots that you have to request, like if you're in the military or out of town?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, they're the mail-in ballots.
Mail-in ballots.
They're
or you
full
can
on
just
absentees,
mail it.
right?
Yeah, they're absentee ballots.
Absentee
That's correct.
ballots, correct. Okay.
And there is, they actually, I think there was actually some talk about how we're going to count the military ballots, because I think they have longer. And there was somebody complaining about, I think, that they don't even open the military unless the margin of error is within some margin that would let the military ballots break the tie. There's all kinds of stuff going. I think the thing would be this is an opportunity to get plugged in and go, how does this thing work? What are these people doing? Yes, Richard.
For the primary election, I believe it's an either or. It's either you do the hand count or you work at the poll.
That's correct.
You can't do both.
That's correct.
It's gonna happen the same day, so
His question was, if you volunteer, are you going to volunteer at the poll and to do the hand count? It's either or. You can't do both. I think they're close enough that you can't do both. There's also, yes, Chris.
Could you, by chance, I don't know if you happen to remember, but could you tell these nice folks about how few people really vote?
It's low.
I don't know if you know those numbers. I don't recall. But well, I'm talking about really nationwide, but in our area specifically.
Well, what we do have solid statistics on are how many registered voters there are, and then how many voters actually voted in the primary. Now, in the national election, we know how many voters voted by precinct, but on primary, we know which ones didn't vote. Okay, and I'll just give you an example, just for primary. I mean, I did Eric Livingston, did his neighborhood. I think we had 180 total voters. I think half of those had, showed some Republican voting at some point. Again, half of them had only voted more than once. I mean, it got down to the number of 180 voters, the number of what we call hard R's that are reliable conservatives, 15. The rest of them we don't know about. Now, his neighborhood is also relatively new. It's a new area of Rough Hollow, so I think there's new neighbors. So that could be a factor in there. But when you look at just election day, it's not high. I mean, the number of people that decided for a school board to borrow up to, basically they're at about $1 billion right now in debt. I mean, it's it's 2,000 or 3,000 people out of the 17,000 people that could have voted for or against it. Does that help answer your question?
Well, it does, and then I think your efforts are to attempt to engage. If you're calling people on your street, the idea is hopefully to get those people maybe to get a spark.
If you still have concerns about election integrity, today is the day to raise your hand and talk to the candidates that we are bringing to Lakeway and ask them hard questions and find out if they are with you on it, and are they going to go and vote for the bills and introduce bills that will help address the issue. Okay? So, and I think just the get out the vote, right? I mean, you talking to your neighbors and having a group text of them on election day, the 4 elections that we're going to have, if nothing else, so that you guys can borrow their rake, but on election day, just simply say, did everybody vote? That's all I'm asking, okay? And then if there's a freeze, you need a heater, you also still have their phone numbers. Yes, Richard.
Could you share with everyone, you know, when we talk about the yellow area, you know, the kind of the ratio of why we don't put a lot of time and that effort. And the good news is what the ratio is in the Lakeway, LTISD,
Okay.
conservative.
So Richard's question is, what's the ratio? Obviously it's more than 50%, but it is overwhelming in the yellow area. If you do zoom out, you'll notice, I mean, this goes all the way into Westlake, okay? And you know Westlake, I mean, Terrytown. They don't vote for our folks, right? It's the way it works. And I can't tell you, I actually have not looked at numbers. I know for the precincts, the analysis that I've done and the spot checks that I've done in Lakeway, it's 60-40 Republican, 60 Republican, 40 Democrat. It's not a slam dunk in Lakeway, right? What we may have missed over the last 3 or 4 years, and Richard lives in a neighborhood that I will continue to highlight. I meet new people in his neighborhood all the time. I have met people in his neighborhood. I've made business contacts on Facebook, on LinkedIn. I'm thrown off of Facebook. On LinkedIn, and I find out these people are moving to Lakeway, okay? And they don't have a voting record. They are describing themselves as political refugees from various states. I think we have a huge opportunity to reach out, especially in Richard's precinct, which is Sweetwater, right? I think there's a great opportunity to do a lot of community outreach there. Lots of different backgrounds, lots of different cultures. I think they have moved to Texas for a reason. I think they moved to Lakeway for a reason. I think I've read some books on people are moving, and they move. You can tell from the statistics, you can tell from these maps, people are moving not to neighborhoods in which they share a person's color, but into a neighborhood in which they share the same political opinions. It's happening all over the country, and it's not just in our neighborhood. So, but it is not overwhelming. You've got a lot of middle of the road in Lakeway. Some of the precincts only went for the conservative candidate, 5-10 points.
I was just going to mention, we had several candidates over. We had 30 people during the last elections. We had people who were running for judges, all the way through the whole county. And when Scott says that we should forget about some of the county election, I think the ratio was about 65%, 35%, 65% Democratic vote, 35. Some of the elections even 70.
Yeah.
And a lot of time and money, and we had a lot of hope, but we decided to refocus and concentrate on areas of our strength here.
When I did look at the races that it looked like there might be a chance in, they're like Justice of the Peace and Constable. And those are not consequential, you know. I think both the Justice of the Peace, I actually looked up, what does a Justice of the Peace do? You know, you could go to the Justice of the Peace to get married, but I didn't know what else they do. They handle low-level issues, traffic tickets, you know, people who didn't get their inspection done. And then constable, I think, but even though they're elected position, I am not sure, but I think they still report to the sheriff.
They don't.
They don't,
We
okay?
have a constable in Briarcliff. I've talked to him a number of times. They are completely independent. Their original mandate was to be the enforcers of the Texas Constitution. But they have been refocused, strayed, you know, whatever word you want to use, where they do a lot of traffic. But when it comes, like when they report up on the scene, they're one of the higher ranked officers around, because they don't have, their jurisdiction spans multiple counties and multiple areas.
Do you know if the guy that's in the car that's patrolling your neighborhood, is that the constable that's elected, or is he
He's
a
like
deputy?
constable.
Okay, okay. Then that may be something we should look into. If we do have a constable that we would like to support, we can look into that and see if we have somebody worth making the effort for. But I think Richard's right. There's a lot of lost cause there. That's why I say the district attorney, I wish we could have another district attorney, but I don't think we have the stomach to put the money in to make it work. And the guy that talked yesterday seemed like he talked about being he was very delicate about talking about what his positions and, you know, why he might be electable, but I don't know. We'll find out. Well, if y'all are interested, we'd love to have him out. Maybe we'll host him here and we can talk to him. Any other questions? Yes, sir?
Did I hear you say that in order to do, was it same day ballots voting, that it was going to take 600 volunteers to do this area?
So the 600, no, it was for all of Travis County.
Okay.
600 volunteers to basically do hand ballots at every precinct across Travis County.
Okay.
So
That is the ultimate goal, right?
So
look, real quickly we'll get into an opinion about all of this. And I honestly, so my vote, if I took a vote at the Travis County Republican Party Executive Committee, there was a lot of gnashing of teeth about, you know, voting for this and pushing it. It's not a hill I'm willing to die on. I think it is for some people, and if we make it happen, I'm in. Okay. I work in IT. I personally would rather have audit authority to be able to go and give Travis County elections a nice, healthy audit. And maybe even do crazy stuff like do a bounty. We'll put up a bounty. We'll put up a $50,000 if anybody can break into the election. Right? Immunity if they can do it, but they get $50K if they can. Right? That'd put them on their toes. I don't know. I think we need to think differently about how to do this, but not having audit authority and knowing what the chain of custody is for the ballots and the whole process, and having a third party audit it, I think would be very helpful. And that is part of the problem. They will not let us see what's going on in lots of the software and the way they do business. That's my opinion. Yes, sir?
I'd just like your opinion. So with the bad reputation that mail-in ballots have, you guys have handled it, I trust that's fine in this area. But with the push to do this one day voting for the President of the United States, for the main vote, what's your opinion on having enough volunteers to handle the whole United States?
No, that's,
in one day?
look, if I can't get you guys to host me to and I'll bring a 6-pack of beer and you can get 6 friends. I mean, how are we going to get people to help run an election? You know, it's 7 to 7. I mean, I show up at 6 o'clock in the morning. I leave at 9 o'clock at night. I mean, it's a long day. So.
I mean, a lot of people believe that it can be done, or other countries have just done it. But to hear you talk about how much trouble it is just to do a small amount of people, what would it take to do a nationwide?
Oh, it'd be enormous. And honestly, from working in the elections, it's not I'm the odd man out. I basically have told Travis County Elections, I'll go anywhere in the county you want me to go. And so they usually send me to some place where everybody who's voting is, made terrible decisions with tattoos and, purple hair. And I'm the weirdo, okay? I really am. And it's not us. We're not volunteering to help run the election, right? The Democrats are running. They're the people taking your ID. It's not conservatives that are helping run the election. When we did primary 2 years ago, I mean, it was a super hard push to just get enough. On primaries, what you're supposed to have is you're supposed to have a Democrat judge and a Republican judge in every precinct. And I think we've had a hard time just finding enough Republican judges to be the other judge in the precinct. So, again, I'm just asking you to raise your hand. It is a long day's work. So, anyway, thank you. Text me.
Thank you, sir.